Hello, this is Ryan Voorhees with Ivy Tech Community College in the Construction Technology program. In this video series, we're going to show you the best practices for flashing a masonry chimney to both a shingle roof and also to a metal roof. So we're going to start off with all of our preparations and flashing, and then we'll move into the specifics for each roof type. Now to start off, you can see we have a masonry chimney and we have this roof blacked in with felt paper. And a few things to note. First off, we're going to check and make sure we have a gap where the sheathing meets the masonry. This is critical that we have a ½ gap or more here to allow for deflection of the roof as well as expansion and contraction. That gap will make sure that our roof can freely move independent of the chimney. Next thing we want to note is our actual felt paper. I recommend, as an added benefit here and an added measure of protection, that when you run your felt, you run it up at least 5 inches above your roof line and turn it around the corner for all 4 corners of the chimney. So our base course was run that way. Our side course, again, was run long, snipped away, and folded around. And we did the same up here at the top, folded back. So any water that comes down this roof underneath our flashing, if it were to penetrate flashing, is going to be out to the eave. And also, in the meantime, if a rainstorm comes, we do have some extra protection here at our penetration. So first off, we want to talk about preparations. Now before we ever cut this chimney, we want to make sure that we've gone through and taken measurements, drawings, and created all of our flashing before we've come up on the roof to actually do the roof job. This is critical to have everything done and pre-planned to speed us up when we actually come through to roof the building. We don't have to wait and think about how things might go. So in any case, if we can pre-plan and make this stuff ahead of time, we're going to be coming out ahead. So that's what we're going to do. First thing is I'm going to plan my masonry cuts. So down here I want to be at least 6 inches above the roof line. This joint is only 5. So I'm going to pick this joint here at 8 inches. I'm going to cut this out. That determines our angled joint, which ends up being about 7, and we've cut all the way through the bricks and the joints. And at the top, we end up with about 7.5, 8 inches as well. So once I've picked these joints, I can take measurements on the width across the front and the back, and also the length along the sides. And those measurements then will get transferred over and used to make our flashing. So I'm going to take these measurements and make some notes, which I've already done, and then make those flashings. Now the flashing types, we really have a number of types, but we have 2 categories. The first is base flash and the second is cap flash. For base flashing up the sides, we use what's called a step flashing, and I recommend making these out of a color matched coil so that you have the same color for all your flashing. So that's considered base flashing. At our corners, we'll use this pre-made base flashing that will wrap around a corner to eliminate leaks, and I would also recommend color painting those so they match. And then once we get those in place, we'll use what's called a cap flashing, and this cap flashing would fit into our saw cut and get hammered in tightly and then sealed. So those are our components: base flashing and cap flashing, and I'm going to show you how to make all of these. One note here before we go further: this is how we recommend cap flashing. This flashing has a tight hem, a 90-degree bend, and then an open hem. And this is critical because it's going to divert water like we want it to. Now an option that some people choose to use looks like so, and this piece of flashing also has the hem, but it just has an open bend at the top. And what a lot of roofers are doing is they'll fasten this flashing against their masonry as a cap flash and put a bead of sealant here. Even though you can buy this product pre-made and some people use it, I don't recommend it because you have a joint here that's going to need service every couple years and need recaulked because the metal and the masonry expand and contract differently, and it will open up your joint. So I don't recommend this at all. It's a quick, dirty approach that doesn't require saw cutting, but it's not a long-term solution. So instead, again, we recommend this piece, which will get fit into the saw cut and sealed, so any water coming down the face of the brick will hit this and come back out and be on top. Even if our caulking fails, we still will have 95% water protection if we use a system like this. So with that said, I have all of my measurements and I'm ready to start making cap flashing, and we're going to move to the metal brake and do that next.